Grace. They're coming.
Resident Evil Requiem might be the wildest jump forward the series has ever taken, and today we're breaking down the entire theory timeline. We'll look at how it ties into past games, what it means for future lore, and why fans are losing their minds over Grace Ashcroft. If you enjoy deep dive videos like this, hit like and subscribe to help the channel grow. The setting: 30 years after Raccoon City. Requiem is set roughly 3 decades after the Raccoon City missile strike, the event from Resident Evil 2 and 3 that wiped the city off the map. This timing puts Requiem somewhere around 2024 to 2026. Since that event took place back in 1998, this makes Requiem the farthest point on the official Resident Evil timeline. Previous games usually stayed closer to the early 2000s or 2010s, but Requiem jumps far ahead and opens the door to storylines built on long-term consequences. This also means we're dealing with a world that has had 3 full decades to hide secrets, bury evidence, or develop new horrors behind the scenes. Protagonist Grace Ashcroft's family ties. Grace Ashcroft's identity has set the fan base on fire. She's believed to be the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a journalist and playable character in the Resident Evil Outbreak games. Outbreak never got a proper closure, leaving a lot of character threads dangling, including Alyssa's fate. By connecting Grace to Alyssa, Requiem has the chance to revisit Outbreak's storyline and give it the payoff fans have been waiting for. It also helps Requiem bridge the classic era with the modern timeline, bringing one of the oldest unresolved narratives into the spotlight. Grace's career as an FBI agent adds an interesting twist because it gives her access to information that ties her mother's past to her own investigation. Raccoon City Revisited, Legacy and Lore. The game takes players back to the ruins of Raccoon City, a location the series has avoided for 3 decades. The idea of revisiting the blast zone after so many years raises tons of questions. What exactly is left there? Did Umbrella bury more than just evidence? The story hints that Requiem returns to the series' original narrative threads, the ones tied directly to the city's fall. Exploring these ruins could reveal forgotten research labs, unrecorded outbreaks, or files that explain what really happened before the missile strike. Grace's journey into the destroyed city suggests she'll uncover things previous protagonists never found. Umbrella Corporation, new mysteries. There's a big question floating over Requiem. What is the status of Umbrella? The company collapsed officially years ago, but fragments of its work have shown up all over the series. Recent info hints that Requiem might finally address the company's long-term influence. Some clues suggest that Umbrella might have had secret divisions that continued operating even after the public believed the corporation was gone. Requiem also pulls from Outbreak's unresolved mysteries, which included abandoned labs and hidden research. If Grace uncovers data tied to past outbreaks, it could rewrite the understanding of what Umbrella was doing in the background. Series timeline placement and connections. Capcom often syncs in-game timelines with the real world, and that pattern continues here. With Requiem likely set between 2024 and 2026, it follows a consistent timeline evolution. According to the broader canon, these years fall after the Village storyline, after the BSAA investigations, and after the post-Wesker conflicts. The game also fits neatly into the timeline by building on world events that happened after Resident Evil 6 and 7, while still keeping ties to older stories like Outbreak. This placement makes Requiem a major puzzle piece because it anchors the furthest timeline point and ties older and newer eras together. Connection to Shadows of Rose and recent storylines. Before Requiem, the farthest point in the Resident Evil timeline came from Village's Shadows of Rose DLC. That story featured Ethan's daughter as a teenager and served as the series' latest event. Requiem moves even past that, pushing the narrative deeper into the future. The big theory is whether Requiem will reference the Megamycete storyline or leave it behind. Some fans think Requiem might acknowledge the events of Shadows of Rose through files or passing mentions. Others believe Capcom wants to steer away from that era and follow a new threat. Since Grace is an FBI agent, she could easily come across classified info referencing Rose Winters or the BSAA's involvement. Stealth horror roots. Gameplay inspirations. Requiem also shifts the gameplay tone. Early previews mention heavy stealth sequences that remind players of Alien Isolation. The game leans into old-school survival horror, dim corridors, slow burn tension, and careful resource management. There's also influence from classic Resident Evil puzzle design, which brings the vibe of the Spencer Mansion and early police station locations. Requiem appears to balance modern cinematic pacing with the feeling of vintage Resident Evil. Since the story is focused on Grace investigating old mysteries, the mix of stealth and exploration fits perfectly. Perspective changes. Third versus first-person play. One of the most exciting features is the ability to switch between third-person and first-person at any time. Players can pause and change perspectives instantly, which allows the game to appeal to both modern RE players and long-term fans. The choice isn't only about preference, it also changes how scenes feel. Tight first-person angles make stealth sections scarier, while third-person helps during exploration and combat. This flexible structure helps Requiem unify the two gameplay eras that split the fanbase. New storylines, new canon. Requiem introduces new characters, new monsters, and new lore sections that expand the universe rather than repeating past formulas. Grace is an FBI agent who has returned to investigate her family's hidden past. She uncovers things that force her to confront long-buried childhood memories. There are new factions, new villains, and new threats that extend beyond Umbrella's shadow. These elements help Requiem stand on its own, while still connecting to established canon. Fan theories. Leon, Lisa Trevor, connections, and cliffhangers. The fan theories surrounding Requiem are wild. Some players think Leon Kennedy could make a cameo, especially since Requiem deals with Raccoon City's legacy. Others believe Lisa Trevor's story might finally get closure. She was experimented on long before the mansion incident and left behind many unanswered questions. There are even theories about Wesker-related data or archives resurfacing, which would make sense since older labs often hid information that never reached the main cast. Fans also expect a massive cliffhanger. Since Requiem is placed so far in the timeline, it could set up the next major conflict for the next decade of Resident Evil games. Marvelous verdict. That wraps up our breakdown of the Resident Evil Requiem theory timeline. If you want more deep dives into lore, hidden details, and upcoming survival horror games, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.